Let's be honest, when most of us hear proposal writing, we kind of groan, right? We think of stress, endless forms, and just a whole lot of work. But what if we flipped that? What if we saw it not as a chore, but as a genuine skill? The art of making a powerful, persuasive case for something you believe in. Well, in this explainer, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to break down how to master that art. You know, this quote right here really gets to the heart of it all. Nailing a proposal isn't about using the fanciest words or the most complicated charts. It's all about empathy. It's about being able to step into the donor's shoes and see the world from their perspective. Once you understand what they need to feel confident, you're halfway there. And that's the big secret we're going to unlock today.
So, how do we get inside their head? Well, it turns out that pretty much every donor, whether they say it out loud or not, has 5 big questions swimming around in their mind. So we're going to use those 5 questions as our roadmap for this whole explainer. Think of it as the secret blueprint for building a case that's not just solid, but pretty much undeniable.
All right, first up, let's tackle the absolute foundation of your proposal, clearly defining the problem and showing everyone who you are. This is your chance to grab their attention right from the start.
This question is really a two-parter. First, you've got to establish who you are, your credibility. But honestly, the even bigger piece is making the donor understand why this specific problem matters so much, right here, right now. Your mission is to make the issue feel urgent, real, and something that absolutely cannot be ignored.
So how do you do that effectively? Well, there's this really powerful tool called a problem tree analysis. Instead of just listing off a bunch of issues on the surface, this forces you to dig way deeper. It's a visual way to map out the entire ecosystem of a problem, from the hidden causes, the roots, to all the visible and damaging effects.
Okay, let's use a real-world example to make this stick. We have an NGO called Ah Lin Young that wants to tackle a massive issue. This statement you see here, high HIV transmission rate among young people, that's the trunk of their problem tree. It's the central core problem that everyone can see and agree on.
But the real question is why? Why is the rate so high? And this is where the analysis becomes so incredibly valuable. These are the roots of the problem. You see things like a lack of education, no jobs, social stigma. If you want to solve the problem for good, you can't just trim the branches. You have to get to these deep-seated roots.
And this is where you show the stakes. If that problem, that tree, is just left to grow unchecked, these are the devastating consequences, the branches. We're talking about lives lost, a generation at risk, and a threat to the country's future. This is what creates that powerful sense of urgency that makes a donor sit up and say, okay, we have to do something.
Okay, so you've painted a really clear, really urgent picture of the problem. You've got their attention. Now, you have to follow it up with a solution that's just as clear and just as logical.
This is the donor's very next thought. They're thinking, okay, I get it. The problem is serious. Now, convince me that you know how to fix it. This is where you lay out your strategy, and this is key. You have to explain the logic that proves your plan is solid, that it's not just wishful thinking.
At the very heart of your plan is what's called a causal hypothesis. Now, that might sound a little academic, but it's actually super simple. Think of it as your core if-then statement. It's the simple, powerful logic connecting your actions to the results you want. If we do this, then this will happen.
And your hypothesis is built on this logical chain. It's like a series of dominoes. You start with your inputs. That's the stuff you need, like money and people. Those inputs fuel your activities, the things you're actually going to do. Those activities produce outputs, the immediate tangible results. This then leads to an effect, a real change in people's knowledge or behavior. And all of that finally leads to the big picture impact you're aiming for.
Let's bring that back down to earth with our Ah Lin Young example. You can see the flow so clearly here. The inputs, like trainers and money, lead to activities like peer education. The immediate output is having skilled educators out there reaching people. The effect, young people actually change their behavior. And the ultimate impact, a lower HIV transmission rate. See? It's a clean, logical story that just makes sense.
So, you've laid out the problem and your brilliant solution. You might think you're done, but hold on. The donor has another really important question brewing, and this one is all about accountability. This is absolutely crucial. Donors are investors. They're investing their money in creating change. And just like any other investor, they need to see a return. They need proof. They need to know that their money didn't just pay for some activities, but that it actually created real, measurable results. And you have to show them exactly how you're going to provide that proof.
And the gold standard for proving success begins with SMART objectives. Now, this isn't just some corporate jargon, it's a framework that forces you to be disciplined. It pushes you away from vague hopes and into creating concrete targets that are specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and tied to a specific timeline.
And wow, this slide just says it all, doesn't it? Look at the left side, enhanced capacity. What does that even mean? How would you ever measure that? It's fuzzy. Now look at the right, boom, it's specific, women in management training. It's measurable, a jump from 20 to 30%, and it's timely, within 1 year. Now that is an objective a donor can see, believe in, and get excited about.
So if your SMART objectives are the destination you've plugged into your GPS, then your indicators are the turn-by-turn directions. They're the specific, countable bits of data that you collect along the way to prove that you're on the right track and making progress.
Let's apply that. Say your objective is to train 50 peer educators. Your indicators are the cold, hard proof. How many people did we actually train? How many people did they reach? How many workshops did they run? This shows a donor you're not just hoping for success, you have a system to track it every step of the way.
All right, we are on the home stretch now. We've covered the why, the what, and the how. Now it's time to get down to brass tacks. Who is going to do all this work, and what is it going to cost?
This is the donor's final reality check. They might absolutely love your idea and your plan, but they need to feel confident that your team, your organization, has what it takes to actually execute the plan well, and that you can be trusted to manage their money responsibly. And you build that trust by showing them your homework. You give them a clear org chart so they know who's who. You define everyone's roles so there's no confusion, and maybe most important of all, you show them your track record. Highlighting your past successes tells a donor, hey, we've done this before. We know what we're doing.
I absolutely love this way of thinking about it. A budget should never, ever be just a boring list of costs. It's a narrative. It's the financial story of your project. Every single line item, every dollar, should connect directly back to one of the activities in your plan. It tells the story of how you'll turn their investment into real-world impact.
And that brings us right back to where we started. A winning proposal isn't really about your brilliant ideas. It's about anticipating and answering the questions that are already in your donor's mind. When you put yourself in their shoes and you build a clear, logical, and trustworthy case, you're not just asking for money anymore. You're giving them an irresistible invitation to partner with you and create real change. The only question left is, what story are you going to tell?